been called upon to talk about optimizing manpower for business outcomes, with special emphasis on doing it the way we do it in Nigeria. And I will also try to link my own experiences with what may be relevant to those of us who have established their own businesses or who intend to establish something in the future. And this is how we will move. What we are going to look at in today's discussion, because it has to be more of a discussion, we are going to rub minds with each other and pick each other's brain and learn from one another. And during this discussion, we will look at what is manpower and what are its benefits to the organization. We'll look at how to hire appropriate manpower. We will discuss about how to measure manpower performance and what we are to do when it is found to be inadequate. I mean, inadequate performance. We will talk about ways and means in which we can motivate and reward our staff. And finally, how do we tackle high manpower turnover in our various organizations? So let's go straight into the first item we are going to talk about today, and that is manpower and benefits to our organizations. The pertinent question is, what is manpower? When we talk about manpower, what are we talking about? Well, in HR administration, when we talk about manpower, when we say manpower, apart from human capital, so when we specify labor to manpower, what we really mean is that we are talking about the total supply, that's the total number of persons available and ready for service. It is the total number. It can also, we can also call it the total number of individuals who are employed in an organization or a company, or who are available for a particular project, assignment, or work. Maybe you have a project, maybe you are building a road, and you know you need manpower. So when we talk of manpower with respect to that project, is the amount of people available to you to build that road. When we talk of manpower with respect to an organization, maybe we are talking of your total staff strength. Well, going forward, those of us who did a little bit of economics, we know that manpower or labor is one of the 4 factors of production. The factors of production are resources that are the building block of the economy. They are what people use to produce goods and services. And economists have divided the factors of production into 4: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Labor is the effort that people contribute to the production of goods and services. And another thing which we also note when we are talking of manpower is that we say labor or manpower is an active factor of production. Active in the sense that it is the one that starts production. If you have land, if you have capital, they cannot start. Land will not do anything on its own. Money will not do anything on its own. It needs people. It needs manpower to put them to use so that they can be productive. So most of the time, we call them passive factors of production. The active factor is the people, the manpower, because we are the ones who use the capital and who will shape the land to be what we want it to be for us. So even from that brief discussion, we know that manpower is important. Manpower is also important because of these are some factors, but I just picked out 3 out of them. 1, productivity. Manpower is proportional to productivity. The more people that are available for work, the faster the task can be completed, or the more projects a company can take on. What we are talking about here is that let's look at maybe we want to clear a forest. There is maybe a person with a cutlass, one person with a cutlass can clear about half an acre in one day. But if you put 10 people with cutlasses, that means you will get 5 acres cleared in that day. So that means what we are just trying to say here is that just looking at it on the face of it, the more people you put in, the more work it gets being done, because there is a limit to what one person alone can do. So for productivity, the more manpower, active, productive, willing to work people that there are in the organization, and if there is work to be done, more work can get done. So productivity, manpower is proportional to productivity. That is one. Manpower is also important to safety, because if manpower is stressed, you are overworking your people. As you in the medical profession, you will know this. People get weak and they are no more as alert as they would have been when they were fresh. The more likelihood is that accidents will occur. But if you have enough manpower, the people, your workers are not too much stressed and they are still alert, the likelihood is that safety will still be good in that organization. But the more stressed they are, the more agitated they become, the likelihood is that safety is being compromised. So having adequate manpower is good for productivity, is good for safety, and it also gives you more options and also innovation, because you will have flexibility in terms of the number of employees that cover shift. It's easier to get people to fill in. In other words, when you have enough manpower, you have more options. Somebody wants to go on leave today, or you are working in Ibadan, you can now decide to open a branch in Abeokuta, because you have enough people. You have the manpower that can go to Abeokuta to go and open that branch. But if you only have one pharmacy shop in Ibadan, you have only 2 employees, and they are stretched, they are stressed, it will be difficult for you to talk of opening another branch, because you don't even, the manpower in Ibadan is even not enough to run the Ibadan office, not to talk of opening another branch somewhere else. So sometimes when you look at having adequate manpower, these are part of the things we are talking about and we are looking at. And a company or an organization that has a greater pool of workers, it can construct strong teams and is more likely to have employees with the skills, knowledge, ability to tackle current company problems. If you have enough staff and maybe they are varied enough, let's look at a small pharmaceutical shop. You could have a pharmacist, you could have a security officer, you could have clerks, you could have those who are attending to staff. So there is a variety of skills involved in that organization. So if there is a problem in one area, once everybody come together and put heads together, that problem could get solved. And then there could be innovation within that organization. So these are just a few of the things that one will do when you have the right manpower, in right numbers, and with the right skills, and with the right attitude. The likelihood is that the company will grow and things will get done better. So manpower is important, because without manpower, production is difficult, because money, land, office, table, drugs, the drugs will not dispense themselves. The office will not bring people in by itself. We need people who will now put all these things to work. So that is, I think we've been able to discuss about the importance of manpower to productivity and to production. Now, let's look at another issue and another area, is that how do we hire appropriate manpower? We've mentioned it earlier on. Employees are very important asset for a business. One, they create and promote the organization's culture. They are significant and they affect the success of the business, because we said productivity is dependent on them. Safety is dependent on them. Option, flexibility is dependent on them. And organizational culture. Sometimes organizational culture means the way we do things here. In a lot of organizations, it is very important. Some companies have a way in which they do their own thing. You could enter some companies and they say that they interface with customers. And part of their culture is that for every customer that walks into this office or into this establishment, into these premises, you greet him with a smile and a welcome. That is their culture. They want to be known for that we are happy to see you. So adequate manpower should have a person working in that organization will have that at the back of his mind, that the culture here is that we greet everybody with a smile and a good welcome, not with a frown. So the person that frowns to customer is likely not to be an asset to that organization, because his own outlook is different from the culture of that organization, where they greet people with a smile. That's one. So hire appropriate manpower. So a person that will not smile is not likely to be appropriate manpower for that type of organization. Now, hiring appropriate manpower is also important. In challenging economic times, the cost of hiring inefficient personnel may prove to be detrimental to the profitability of an organization. Detrimental in two ways. One, if you hire somebody that is not fitted into your organization, the likelihood is that such a person will add, the way he came in will be the way he will go out. He will go out very quickly. Then you have wasted the cost of that hiring, because the likelihood is that you have spent money to advertise, money to arrange the interview, money to arrange a search, money for training, maybe some advances you have given him or her, and the guy is not fitted into your organization. You've lost money. In HR administration, we calculate it. That's part of the cost of hiring. That means if you now have to go back to the labor market to find another person, you are going to spend that money, that same sum of money all over again. So the one you spent at first, that one is gone, that one is wasted. So you are adding costs to your bottom line. So one, you have lost money in that area. Two, hiring inappropriate manpower can even cause damage to your operations. If it's inefficient, ineffective, he could do something that could be detrimental. For example, maybe he's running a machine. He could spoil the machine. He could cause an industrial accident that will cost us thousands of naira, or may even, especially some accident, may even cause government to come and look at the organization, or even close it down for a while. So that is why it's very important, especially in a specialized, technical, and regulated industry like the pharmaceutical industry. One has to be very, very, very careful with the staff, especially those who are formulating and so on and so forth, because a little mistake can cause a lot of problem. There was one case, and it involved a pharmaceutical company that we always use as an example. And I think it has been around for a while. It's the case of my Peking. There was a company in those days that was formulating this children's mixture called My Pikin. And they did a mistake in the formulation. They added the wrong chemical and children died. I don't know, they have forgotten the amount of people. They died, it really caused a problem. One, I know that the industry was closed down. Many people died, many children died. They closed down the industry and it remained closed. It went under, it went bankrupt. But not only that, they prosecuted top officials of that company, and some of them went to jail for that error. And who maybe the error was done, and what I heard was that they bought a chemical from somebody they shouldn't have bought it from. And that one supplied them the wrong specification. And when they used it to do what they wanted to do, the mixture, it became poisonous. It became a time bomb. And then, and it cost the life of that company. And I'm sure it was once a lively, booming company before that incident. But after that incident, I'm sure they went bankrupt, people went to jail, and many people had also died. Some people, the effect of what happened could be lingering on the conscience of some people for the rest of their lives. So one has to be careful. So one has to be sure that hiring inappropriate staff can cause some problem. So when you are talking of staff, hiring, and so on and so forth, we are talking of, in HR, we call it manpower planning, or which is also called human resource planning. And this consists of, what we are talking about here is putting the right number of people, the right kind of people, at the right place, the right time, doing the right things for which they are suited for the achievement of the goals of the organization. In other words, that means you are planning your manpower. You are having the right number. And when we are talking of the right number, if you have too little, it may affect productivity because you stress them, they are a problem, they will have some problem. If you have too much also, it also affects productivity. In other words, you are paying, money is going out for workers that are not really needed by the organization. So you are paying more than you ought to have paid for a staff cost. And again, when people are too much, they will now be disturbing each other. And it has a way of affecting the productivity of the internal staff. Maybe if a staff was producing 10 units, if they are working optimally, but if you have too many staff, you will discover that it has a way of affecting the output, individual output of each staff. So it's good to have staff at the right number, to have them of the right kind, not inefficient, not people who are not suited for what you have to do. And they have to be at the right place. They have to be at work at the right time, doing the right things so that you can achieve the goals of your organization. And all what we are talking about here involves doing the following things. One, analyzing the current manpower inventory. When you want to employ staff, you have why do you have to employ staff? That means you look at your inventory and you have discovered that you need staff in a particular area. There is a deficiency there. And when you are analyzing the manpower inventory, you also look at people who are also redundant. Maybe you want to produce something, there could be too many people in one section who are not fitted to do work in the other section, maybe in production section, where you really need people. So you could have too many admin staff. Why don't you let some admin staff go, save on cost of manpower, and then employ professional people who will work in the production and beef your product. So that is what we are calling an analyzation of the manpower inventory. Then again, we also make future manpower forecasts. That means you are hiring, you need manpower, not because you really need them now, but you are looking at the future. You know, I used an example. You are a pharmacy outlet. You have an outlet in Ibadan. and you want to open in Abeokuta, if you open in Abeokuta, the shop in Abeokuta will not run itself. You need staff to run it. So that's, and then it is not when you open it that you will now be, we forgot who is going to be the superintendent pharmacist, who is going to be the salesman, who is going to be the cashier. You will have thought about all that. You will have gotten them even before opening the shop in Abeokuta. Maybe you will have trained them in Ibadan. Maybe they will have even understudied your staff in Ibadan. They will have imbibed your culture. They have known the way you're operating in Ibadan that you want to go and replicate in Abeokuta. They will be able to do it. So if anybody goes to Abeokuta or comes to Ibadan, he will not be able to know the difference. One thing he will know is that once he enters Abeokuta, he should be able to say that, this should be a branch of the farm in Ibadan, because I've seen a lot of similarities in the way they operate. You can only do that because you've looked at your future manpower forecast and you have made provisions for the manpower to be available, and you have trained them accordingly so that when they get to Abeokuta, they just start operating in line with the way you want them to operate. And also manpower planning also involves developing employment programs. In other words, you need to develop them. Like we mentioned during the initial stage today, that knowledge with that continuous development is very important. So we need to develop our people and develop training programs from them so that they can be developed. All these are part of the things we do in manpower planning. Even before we now say we now want to go to town to go and employ manpower, we must have a proper plan. We must know that they are going to be useful, what they are going to do for us, and are they going to be in line, in sync with our culture and our operating ways. So going further, we want to employ now. How do we get manpower? The first thing we do is that we do what we call a needs analysis. A need analysis is what initiates the manpower recruitment process. This phase entails identifying a vacant position or creating one to meet new needs that have arisen within the organization. That is what we call a needs analysis. So a needs analysis is very important. We need to know what we need, where we need them, and how we need them. So once we are sure that we are certain we know what we need, then we can go to the next stage, which is processing. How do we now start the process of getting the staff we need? The processing phase entails going through the applications. That means we've done a needs analysis, we've advertised, and then we've asked for people to send in applications. So we now process, we go through the applications, we look at their resumes and so on. We can be able to shift or sort that we have a few that we feel will suit our needs, and those are the ones that we'll call for the interview. The next stage is the initial interview, which may be conducted over the phone or face-to-face. Sometimes some people will still do an initial interview. Maybe you see them, you need to put a face to the application. You need to put a face to the resume. That's what you look at them, you see, this guy looks okay, this guy, then we'll call for the actual interview. Maybe because the organization may need to look at them. The actual interview, maybe you are the entrepreneur. At the actual interview, you could call some people to come and help you assess the people you have shortlisted. So you may need to do that. And then at the actual interview, the employer is able to discuss information provided in the application as well as assess. Yeah. As well as assess the character and communication skills of the staff. And then after that, you eliminate them, of course. You narrow down the list of interviewed applicants and chose the most qualified person from the pool of applicants. And another thing, selecting the most qualified candidate entails contact checking with references provided. This is very, very important. Some people don't check with references. If he said, I've worked here, if he says, this is my cousin, if he says, this is my guarantor, it may be good for us to check, because if something happens, we discover that some people will give some very wrong or false details, and we employ them. And whereas such people are usually very bad people, and at the end of the day, they could do something very grievous to our organization, to our persons, or to our family, and then it may be very difficult for us to trace them. So sometimes checking references, or most of the time, at least for us to know where he's coming from, and for us to be able to know if he has done something in the past that is important for us to know. Reference checking is important. And then we can discuss things like salary, working schedules, and every other thing. Then the selection process ends when the employer offers the vacant position to the most qualified candidate. So what we are saying is that you want to hire appropriate manpower to go over it again. One, we need to analyze the current manpower needs. We need to know, do we really need that manpower? Or if we need it, why do we need it? Are we making forecasts for the future, or there was a deficiency that we just discovered? Sometimes it could be that somebody is just not doing his work well. So that means it's going to be a replacement. We need to look at all these things. And then that's the need analysis. Then we process through all the interview things that we said, we eliminate, and then we select. And when we select, we now put the person through. We call it, in nature, we call it onboarding. The onboarding process, whereby he's trained, he's given, or some people will call it induction into the organization. But we are giving him, we call it onboarding, because we are boarding the person with information and things that will be useful for him to be able to work in our organization. We need to note a few things on hiring appropriate manpower. Because when you want to hire appropriate manpower, we may want this type of manpower, but at the end of the day, we may not be able to get the type of manpower we are looking for. Because there could be people that are good, that we would like to come and work for us in our organization. And they may not want to come because of the impression they have about our organization. They could feel that it's a small firm, it's a small shop. Why should I go there? Because they are not hearing, they don't know about the organization. So, and sometimes nowadays, especially professionals, these young graduates, if you give them an offer, the first thing they will do is that they'll go and research about your company on the internet and look at it. Who is the owner? How long has this company been around? What are people saying about them? So, company website is the point of entry for company website is a point of entry for the vast majority of applicants. Nowadays, they will go and look at our website, especially this younger generation. to know the type of company we are. And they will use social media to research us. And different groups use different social media differently. Some people, again, during the COVID-19 in HR administration, government had a lot of restriction. Some companies are now operating, we call it off-site, especially in HR and certain professional organizations. People don't come to the office all the time. They do a lot of what we call remote working, especially in administration. So some people will advertise, shortlist, interview, and employ staff, manpower online without seeing them face to face. It started to getting done now. It may be, but what we are saying here is that face-to-face communication is still by far the best way to connect with candidates. I don't believe that it will be very good for us to interview and employ people online totally without seeing them face-to-face. It could be it could be disastrous because you may not know, or you may not be able to vet people very well online. Sometimes it's good for us to see. Then another thing is for us to recognize the cost of outside hiring. In addition to the time and effort of hiring, outside hires, what we are saying here is that when you want to hire from outside, you will take time and effort. All what we have been saying is in respect to hiring from outside. Now you have to advertise, you have to put it in the paper, you have to interview. Like sometimes during the interview, you could call some people to come and help you from outside, or some consultant, and you pay them to come and help you look at the candidate. So it takes time and it is costly. Then two, it takes, in HR expert says it takes an outside hire, it takes them about 3 years to be able to to be able to fully acclimatize with the way you do things within your organization. For them to be fully settled, it takes them 3 years. What we are saying here is that instead of hiring, if there is the possibility of internal hiring or promotion from inside, it is better than outside hiring because it could be cheaper. And then the cost of acclimatization, cultural shock, and so on will not be there. But that's if you have the right quality of candidate inside that you can develop. So that's that about hiring. And then another thing we need to look at is workplace culture. Workplace culture. And when we talk about workplace culture, and workplace culture is part of the things that will attract good workers to our organization. The point of cultivating an attractive workplace is to make recruiting the most qualified candidates an easier task. What we are saying here is that, I mentioned, nowadays, they will make inquiries. They will go to social media, and these young people, and then they will ask their colleagues if all what they need to do, if we offer them, maybe pharmacy A offer somebody an employment, you will put it on the internet. I want to go to pharmacy A, they've offered me an employment. Should I go? And people from all over the world will be answering him. And if we have a toxic workplace culture, we have a high turnover, we have so many disgruntled ex-staff out there, and one of them sees that mail, the likelihood is that he will poison the mind of that intended worker, and tell, you better don't go there for so and so reason. It has happened a lot. We have, in our organization, we've offered people employment. They've said they will come, and at the end of the day, they will just change their minds. They will say they are not coming again. Maybe they've heard something about the organization and they don't want to come. So if we have a good workplace culture, the possibility is that it follows that we will have a good image out there. If your business garners a reputation for providing worker satisfaction, it is likely the word will spread to future employees. Once people are okay, because they will put it out and people will say, that's a good place. I have a brother who is working there. I have an auntie who is working there. I have a friend who is working there. They will answer him, go there. So part of the things that we can do to get that good workplace culture is offer a good benefits package. If we want very good staff, well, we must be willing and ready to attract the good ones by giving them good package. If they are likely to get better salary elsewhere, they won't come to our organization. Technology, another thing, some people want knowledge. They want a good place to work where they can gain experience, where they can say they work with so and so machine. Especially the young people, they are curious. They want to see how it's being done. But if we are using, we don't have modern technology, we don't have the best technology, we are working old school, they may not feel they want to come. They will go to where they will be exposed to modern things because it is also helping their own CV. Have a modern friendly office design. If they look at the organization from the outside, just look at how beautiful the place is. Even people passing along the road, they will say they want to work in such an organization. But if the place is run down, even from the outside, even if you are paying good salary and you are doing good things inside, the people are already have that biased mind that why should I go and work in that run down place? They are not likely to be doing anything good, whereas something good is coming out of the place. And they're useful workplace amenities, and then all these things that we are talking about is part of the things that creates a company brand that employees feel proud of. Once the internal employee feel proud of that brand, it will rub off people who are coming. Because even when they do their research, the research will tell them that that's a good place to work with. Don't you see their staff? They're always happy, they're always cheerful, they ride good cars, the office is beautiful, you have a good brand, and it will be easier to attract good staff. That's that about attraction. So I think we've discussed and we've been able to look at a few things that will help us to get the right type of staff we want. How do we measure manpower performance? And what can we do when it is found to be inadequate? Manpower performance, how do we measure them? In HR, we measure manpower because we have a manpower, or what we call a performance management system. We measure manpower in a scientific manner. But let's just think. I know most of us have our own organizations. Some of us are intending to have our own organization. Many of us are supervisors or managers or directors in our own right. We have people working under us. We have people working with us. How do we measure their performance? How do we know if they are performing adequately or not performing adequately? And if they are not performing adequately, what do we do? How do we handle them? How do we handle such a situation? Straight away, we say that performance management is a continuous process of planning, coaching, and reviewing employee performance. That's the long and short of performance management. How do we plan employee performance? Planning in the sense that you cannot measure what you've not, what you don't have standards for. Because you are going to measure something against something. So that means there must be a standard. Before you say that somebody did not measure up to standard. Even that's I've even used the standard word. He's not measuring up to standard. That means there is a standard. So that means we must plan for a standard. Then 2, if it's not performing, what are we doing to help them to reach that standard? That's where coaching comes in. And then we need to be reviewing that performance. So that's by the review. That's how we know if it's measuring up to standard or not measuring up to standard. So that's, in a nutshell, what performance and manpower performance measurement is all about. Effective performance management systems, that's what we use to measure performance, typically includes the following 3 broad elements. Goal setting, that is the planning. Performance review, that we look at it. How is he doing from time to time? Then performance improvement process, that is the coaching. Because when we review it from time to time, we set the goals and we ask him, how are you, sir? How far? How are you, boy? Are you? And then you look at it, how far he's doing. If that's the review. And if it's a little bit down, I mean, below standard, there are things you could do to encourage him to move up, to up his ante, to improve his game, so that maybe at the end of the performance review period, he could be up to standard. So the employer himself has a duty to perform in making sure that manpower perform effectively, because there are many things we will see as we go on that which the employer also has to do. And employers may use a multitude of options in the execution of performance management process, but an effective system will incorporate the 3 basic elements in one form or another. So there are so many. We have 360 degrees. We have so many forms of performance management system. But the long and short of it is that all of them, they still do these 3 basic things. They set goals, they review the performance, and then they set performance they have in place a performance improvement process. That's what we do. So whatever performance management system we are using, just let us know that these are the 3 things the performance management system will have to incorporate. And to create a good performance management system, because even on our own, we have our own company, or you are a manager, you are not in nature, you are a manager, you have people working under you, you have professional people working with you, to be able to measure performance, or to be able to encourage them, to be able to motivate them to good performance. There are quite a number of things. These are some things that we need, some techniques that we need to have to be able to get a good performance management system. 1, clear goals. You yourself must have a goal. Maybe your pharmacy, your company must have a goal. What is your project? What is your goal for the year? So if there is no clear organizational goals, it will be difficult to achieve outstanding company-wide results. Goal setting allows staff in every department of the division to make decisions with the long-term or short-term targets in mind and to achieve tangible results. Identify and review the links between employee job description, work plan, and organizational goals, objectives, and strategic plan. What we are saying is this: the organization itself must have a goal. You set up a company. What do you intend to achieve within 6 months, within 1 year, on a day-to-day basis? So once you know what the organization, the company, the pharmaceutical shop, the pharmaceutical production company intends to achieve, you could now distribute it or divide it, trickle it down to all members of staff within that organization. So everybody is working together. And what everybody is doing, because they know what the company's goal is, they will all be working towards that goal. So something we can use is this. If we say, if our goal, a pharmaceutical marketing company, is to make a sale of 150 million in 1 year, and we have 10 salesmen, we can easily say that each salesman is to make 15 million, because 10 times 15 will add up to 150 million. So because we know the organizational goal, and then we have tickled it down to the rest of the staff of the company. So having clear organizational goals is important for us to be able to fix individual goals for the staff. 2, communicate clear expectations, because it is very good for them to know upfront, I mean our staff, when we want to performance management, to know upfront what is demanded of them, what they have to do. That is what we call clear expectations. So at the beginning of the year, maybe sit down with each staff and let them know that this is what I'm expecting from you this year. This is what I feel you should perform this year. If anything less than that is unacceptable, that means you are not performing to expectation. And anything above that will be rewarded. So once they are clear expectation, everybody knows what they have to do. The likelihood is that they will work towards it. 3, make sure performance appraisers are consistent. Let them, because we have our own goals, they have their own goals, which is their own clear, that's their own, what we are expecting of them. And we let them know consistent. It's not that we get to the middle of the year, we now change the goalpost. No, we've told them since January, this is what we are expecting of you. And we keep on reminding them month after month, month after month. The likelihood is that they too will internalize it, I mean the staff, and work towards it, because they know that Oga will be annoyed if I don't make my targets this year. So because we are consistent and they know their expectation, they will work towards it. Then develop them. That's where review comes in. If there are anything they need, especially training, let's give it to them so that they may achieve their objectives. And once they achieve it, we too will achieve our own objective. Empower them to do their work well, of course. Development and empowerment and utilizing the right technology, the 3 go hand in hand. If they need this technology, let's provide it for them. If they need things, maybe within the office, let's give it to them. Once we empower them, we develop them, give them the right technology, the likelihood is that we'll be working towards achieving that objective. 7, take steps towards improving morale. Employees perform better when they are satisfied with their job. So we need to review a few things like work environment, benefits, and salaries. These are some of the things that will increase morale. And the other thing, but this is just a few, even our own managerial style, even our own attitude could work towards improving morale. So these are some of the things we need to give them. And then they understand the mission and vision of the organization. Employees who understand how their role help the company succeed are often more willing to do their very best. So once they understand where the organization is going, and once they understand what we are demanding from them, in line with where we want to go, where we want to do, the likelihood is that they will work towards the, and with all these 8 steps in mind, we'll giving it to them consistently, we can have something to gauge them against. So once again, what we are saying is that to create a good performance management system, we need to give our employees goals, to communicate clear expectations, what we want them to do, to appraise them on what consistently, that this I've told you in January, and we are asking them maybe every month. That's an appraiser. So to make sure it's working towards that. Then we'll give them development, we empower them, that's anything necessary for them to do their jobs, technology, improve their morale, and make sure they understand where we are going. After doing all that, we may not be able to fail. Now, the issue is that in now performance management system, how we will now put everything in a document, which is the appraisal form. And once we have all agreed, and that is what we will use, maybe it could be a document at the end of the day, we'll go through it and we know how far he has done. So it's documented and in writing. But even if we don't really have that appraisal forms so much on ground, which is good for us to have. Some people, maybe you are one-on-one, you discuss, but let's have these things communicated to them and let them know that we are following their performance. Also, even if it's not on paper, we are following it. We are following them in our minds, and they know that we are following them. They will keep to them. So, what are the challenges of adopting a good performance management system? One, these are the challenges. If you want to have a good performance management system, one, there must be performance metrics. These are some of the things. Some of us, we say this is what we want our staff to do. But what are the metrics? What performance metrics are we giving them? Our performance metrics. What we are saying about performance metrics is that, are we talking of quality, quantity, timeliness, cost effectiveness, and then the manner? These are some of the things we need to look at in performance metrics. That these are the things that we'll put down. Then collation, performance, identifying the leaders, reward system, training or dropping of non-performance. Now, how do we deal with poor performance? If we diagnose poor performance, it's likely to come from two areas: a lack of ability or low motivation. If it's lack of ability, there are 5 things we can do. We can resupply them. Maybe we discover they don't have a few things we resupply. We can retrain them. We can refit them, maybe, or reassign them. And finally, if we've done all that, we've resupplied them with things, we've retrained them, we've refit them, maybe rejuggle them, reassign them, they are still not performing, we release them. In other words, that is sack. That means he just doesn't have the ability to work in our organization. Improving motivation, that's the other one. It could not be that the performance is not his poor performance is not due to ability. The poor performance is due to poor motivation. Then we need to look at how we can remotivate such a staff. For motivation, that's such a staff, he has the ability to perform, but he's not performing because he's not motivated. So we should do things to improve motivation. So those are the 2 things: ability or motivation. If it's motivation, let's remotivate. And if it's okay, he goes on, he keeps on performing. If it's ability, we look at it. We try to bring the ability up. If you cannot bring the ability up, we sack. So that's it. Motivation and reward system in organization. Motivated people work hard. Research shows that motivated, engaged workforce is substantially more productive than unmotivated. When workers feel engaged, they are more likely to work harder. Engagement is that when their mind and soul is with the organization, anything they are thinking about the organization, they are ready to commit to the organization. When staff are like that, when workers are like that, we say they are engaged. But when they are disengaged, that means their mind is elsewhere. They are only in your office. Their mind is somewhere else. That is disengagement. They are disengaged. And of course, there are benefits. We know the benefits of having motivated employees. There will be commitment. There will be satisfaction. There will be development, and then the efficiency will improve. We can increase their motivation by communication, value individual contributions, positive work environment, and encourage positive self-esteem. Then reward system, employee rewards. You will have the slides because I'm told my time is up, but the employee rewards refer to programs set up by the company to reward performance and motivate employees. And there's a difference between reward and recognition. And I've talked about how to design a good reward system. But one thing I need to say about a good reward system is that also to know what the employees want in designing some money. Of course, benefits are a good reward system. Let me give you a personal example. When I was with Odua, most of us, the older workers, we had a very, very good disengagement package, a retirement package. But when we were employing younger workers, and part of the things we were telling them is that we have a good retirement package. And they were telling us they are not concerned about retirement package. They are still in their 20s. What they want is money now. They want a good cash or benefit system, training system. They can't wrap their minds around retirement package at that age. So that's part of the things. And there are major types of rewards. They are there. And then financial rewards, closing thoughts on manpower turnover. To tackle manpower turnover, let me just say a few things about manpower turnover. To tackle manpower, cause of manpower turnover, unhealthy work condition, workers are dissatisfied with their jobs, maybe because there is unhealthy working conditions, or the lack of career opportunities, or conflict with management. Those are part of the things that causes high manpower turnover within the organization. And to tackle it, hire the right people, fire people who don't fit, keep compensation and benefits current, pay good salary, reward and recognize employees, offer flexibility. Nowadays, we talk of flexible life-work balance, prioritize employee happiness, make opportunities for development and growth, demonstrate and cultivate respect. Another, which is very important, if you are used to abusing your employees, if you're some employers will even slap their employees, the likelihood is that they won't stay. They are human beings like us, they need to be respected. You will have the slides. I'm sure the organizers can make them available to you. Thank you for the opportunity given to me to be of service to you. God bless you. Thank you.